We're going to continue looking at some more MIDI editing functions in the piano roll editor. We can mute or unmute selected notes by either using the mute key command or the mute tool that's unique to the piano roll editor. I'm going to hit my escape key and that'll bring up my tool menu that's unique to the piano roll by virtue of the fact that my cursor is placed in this portion of the window. It'll bring up that tool menu and I'm going to choose the mute tool so I can mute individual notes. And I can unmute them just as easily. And this works on multiple selections. So I can mute or unmute individual or multiple notes with the mute tool, or, and I'm going to double hit escape right now to get back to the pointer tool, I can use the M key command to mute the notes, just like we can use M in the arrange window to mute regions. We can use it to mute selected notes, and it grays it out. So muting notes. Now let's look at dividing notes. We can divide the same way we can in the arrange window with the scissor tool. So I'm going to hit my escape key again to call this up and call up the scissor tool. And I can click and cut notes like that. And same thing with the grid here. I'm going to elongate a note. Let me go back to the pointer tool and back to the scissors, escape 5. That's the shortcut for the scissor tool because escape and 5 is the number next to it. I can hold down the scissor key. And it's moving in increments now of 16ths. And if I hold control, it's finer increments, and control with shift, even finer. So this applies to cuts as well. Command Z and Command Z again. Let's look at editing the placement of notes now. We can quantize individual notes within the MIDI editors. I'm going to double hit escape to go back to my pointer tool. Now, when I recorded this track, it was quantized on input because in the inspector I had my MIDI through set to quantize. Let me hide this for a moment and hit I to open the inspector. And in the region parameter box, I'm going to turn the quantizing off. Actually, why don't I leave the piano roll open for this, and you'll see the results of what happens when I turn the quantizing off. I'm going to go to off, and now you'll see all the placements just shifted so that they're not snapped to the grid. It'll sound a bit sloppier right now. Not too bad, but not quantized. Let's scroll back to the beginning. And what I can do is select the notes. And I can use these quantized menus here. So I'm going to set this to 16B. Or let's say 16C with a bit more swing. Now again, this is unique from the region parameters that are in the arrange window. So I can use that and I can just hit this Q button. And it'll automatically quantize those notes. There, they just snapped into place. I'll hit Command Z. Watch that again. They just moved out, and I snapped them in like that. The other thing I can do, I'll scroll and I'll quantize these. I see a little errant note here. This little note was unintentional. I'm going to click it and delete it. And what I can do is select, let's say, these notes. And I can call up the quantize tool. I'm going to hit Escape, go to the quantize tool, and I can do a short click on it. And it just snapped them all to the value that this was set at, 16C. Watch that again. I'm going to undo. And now short click. And they're all snapped into place. But what's really powerful about the quantize tool is I can do a long click and get the flip menu right there for specific notes and quantize the specific notes uniquely. Let's say I want those to be quantized to quarter notes. Now they all snapped into place like that. I obviously don't want that. Kind of interesting, but it's not what I'm after. Command Z and that'll undo it. So quantizing, you can do it by means of using the value that's set here and clicking with the Q button. Command Z undo. Or you can use the quantize tool and do a long click to get the flip menu available wherever you are on the currently selected notes. Let me hit the escape key twice to revert back. And I'm going to quantize this again to 16B. I'm going to do it here so it'll apply to all the notes, and that should sound the way we had it before. All right, that's working for me. Let's look at editing velocities now. Now you'll see a little horizontal beam inside each note. I'm going to zoom a little bit so we can see this better. There we go. Now there's two ways to edit velocities in the piano roll editor. Let me hide the inspector. We'll get a bit more room. And the first way is to call up the velocity tool. I'm going to hit escape and get the menu here. and I can see that 9 is the shortcut, so escape 9 will call it up. And what I can do is click, hold, and drag on this and change the velocity. Now, notice in the info tag, I can't really point and do this at the same time, but on the upper left of the info tag, it shows the velocity as I'm sliding it, and on the bottom, it shows how much I'm adding or subtracting from the default value. So here's minus 24 for a velocity of 46. There's plus 37, etc. I'm going to hit Command Z, and this will work on several notes at once. And you see they change color as they go through the different areas of the range. I'm going to hit Command Z and go back to our original. Now there's another way, more powerful way of editing velocities. I'm going to double hit Escape to go back to our regular pointer tool. And we can open up another area of the piano roll editor with this little button down here. Now what this does is it allows us to edit, create and or edit different types of controller data or velocities. Now I'm going to click hold on this triangle here. And by default, it's displaying note velocity, but I can also get to other MIDI parameters, continuous controller parameters, if I want to edit them. But for now, let's stick with note velocity. Now, the note velocity is represented here by horizontal beams, but their placement on this grid is what's important. Let's resize this some more. I'm going to bring it way up so we can get it bigger, and I can resize this half. And we can see the scale more largely from a scale of 0 all the way up to 127. If I move it up, you'll see finer resolution. But what we can do basically is just click and hold and drag these stalks, these velocity stalks. So these are selected now. We can see they're selected here. I can just click, hold, and drag. And you see it changes all their velocities. Let's deselect, and I can do one at a time. I'll select this one and drag it down. And there it's altering that one velocity. Now here's an interesting thing I can do. I can create a crescendo and scale the velocities. If I position my cursor, I'll get this velocity line tool. I'm going to click, hold, and start my line over there, and drag all the way down, click, and it'll scale all the velocities in a decrescendo like that. Not what I want, but an interesting way to create crescendos, or decrescendos. So that's how velocity works in the piano roll editor. We've looked at muting notes, quantizing notes, and editing their velocities. That's it for now. Stay tuned, and I'll see you for more next time.